So to start with, what does OTR stand for? OTR basically stands for Occupational Therapist Registered, okay? And then COTA stands for Certified Occupational Therapy Assistant. So that's the difference between those two, and I get that question a lot. So I thought I'll make a video just to talk about the two types and the differences, and maybe that'll make it easier for you to make a choice as to which one you want to go for. So to start, I want to talk about the different education that you need for the two types. So for the OTRs, you need, which is what I did. Me personally, I went to high school, graduated, and went to college for 4 years. And in my senior year, I took some prereqs in order to get to the OT program. So in all, for education for OTRs usually take 2 to 3 years to do it that way. And then, so after I graduated and got my bachelor's in psychology, I took a prereqs, and then I applied for OT school. I got in and I did that for another 3 years. So with college for 4 years, and then plus 3 years for a master's degree, that's 4, 5, 6, 7 years altogether. And then there's also another way to do this. Once you graduate from high school, if you really want to go to OT school, you can do 5 years bachelor/master's program. So in 5 years, you can graduate and have your master's in OT without going for 4 years undergrad and then going the additional 3 years, which is I did it a long way because I didn't know that I wanted to be an occupational therapist right out of high school. But if you know that in high school, that's a plus because you can go straight into the program and spend 5 years instead of 7 years, save some money, save some time, and do it that way. Now, things are changing. They have started a doctorate program for OTs, meaning that it's probably going to be the same thing like the master's doctorate. So instead of just, eventually they're going to ask that you have your doctorate degree in order to practice occupational therapy. It's the same thing that happened with PT. So they are transitioning into occupational therapy as well. Now for COTAs, I'm only going to speak on this with research because I didn't go through the COTA program. I know some people were asking me about the COTA to master's program. I didn't go through that program, so I don't know the first-hand experience with it, but I can only tell you what I found out from asking people and also from doing research. So for education, the education for COTAs, you only need 2 years associate degree. Okay, so that's less education, less money that you have to spend, and less loans that you have to pay back. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. For the master's OTR program, you need, after your coursework is over, your 3 years of coursework, you also need 24 weeks of full-time field work. Okay, that's unpaid full-time work, which I also did. For COTAs, you only need 16-week full-time field work hours. Okay. Now the cost of education for master's and versus associate degree. For the master's, you are looking between $80,000 and $100,000. So that's a lot of money, and that's the kind of debt that I'm in. So, you know. And then for COTAs, you are looking at approximately $10,000, between $10,000 to $20,000. So there's a big or a huge difference when you think in terms of how much money you have to pay for school. So that's something that you probably definitely have to think about. If you feel like you don't need to have your master's, then getting your associate's degree in being an occupational therapy assistant, that will be just fine for you. That's a great option. And I've met some really great COTAs, and they are so good at what they do. So don't ever think that you'll be underestimated or anything like that. Another thing that I'm sure you guys want to know is the roles and responsibilities of the two things. So for OTs, from my personal experience, we do a lot of the paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork that OTRs do. And coders, on the other hand, do a lot more hands-on than OTRs do. Not to say that OTRs are not doing hands-on, we are, but compared to coders, they are doing a lot more hands-on than OTRs are doing. So paperwork meaning we are doing all the evals. We are writing goals, we are doing treatment planning, we are doing discharges, sometimes even progress notes. I know coders can also do progress notes, but we have to do the research, the discharges, the plan of care, the evals, and all of that. And depending on where you work, you probably have to do a lot more than that. For coders, like I said, more hands-on, minimum or no paperwork. They may have to do certain paperwork. They may depend on what, because I know some coders that are like rehab managers. So in that role, of course, they're probably going to do more paperwork than hands-on. A coder have to work under the supervision of an OTR. I'm going to say that again. A coder have to work under the supervision of an OTR. It does not have to be direct supervision, but some form of supervision is needed in order for a coder to work in the building. That's a very important point. We have to supervise, so OTRs have a very important role in supervision. We have to supervise coders, and we also have to supervise OT students, level 2 students. A coder cannot supervise a level 2 student, but I heard from someone they can supervise level 1 students. So that's another difference too that you can think about. And I'm sure you guys really want to know the salary difference. From research, OTRs make on the average $89,000 a year. That's about $38 an hour. And coders are making $59,000 a year, which is about $26 per hour. Okay, so OTR, $38 per hour on the average. Coders, $26 per hour on the average. Of course, this amount can go up or a little bit down depending on where you work and experience and all of that. As OTRs have a lot more opportunities to do this, like advancement type of thing, open your own business, teach, specialization, because of the amount of education that they have. Not to say that coders are not able to advance, but from research and from talking to people, the opportunities are more available to OTRs than coders. So that's another thing to think about. Both OTRs and coders must be licensed. They have to pass the board, the state board, before they are able to practice. Okay, so you have to also keep that in mind as well. Whether you want to be a coder or OTR, you have to be licensed, and you have to be licensed in order to practice. Now, let me just tell you that I've met some really, really smart, brilliant coders that they know exactly what they're doing and they have so much experience. So don't ever underestimate a coder. Don't ever underestimate what they do, because they bring so much to the table, and a lot of them are so hardworking and so smart. Just like OTRs, I'm a new grad now. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of things that I don't know that the coders that I work with know. So having that partnership with me, being able to talk to each other and share ideas, and don't ever feel like just because you have more degree or you went to school for a longer period of time and have more loans does not mean that you're better than the coders. So don't ever put that in your brain. Don't ever think that, and just always have a free spirit to learn from each other. And even if you are the one that's supervising them, does not make them any less, don't belittle anybody is basically my point. So that was the end of my video. So just to recap, the difference between OTRs and coders with OTRs and OT assistants: education level, the cost of education, job responsibilities and roles, job demands, salary, and advancements. Okay, so those are the 6 difference between OTRs and OT assistants, okay? So if you guys love my video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, and as always, thank you so much for tuning in to my channel, and I love you. Mwah.